Good evening, Dr. San. I represent the Zincit team, and I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to go over this negotiation and for not requiring that you have your attorneys here so we can get right down to the meat and potatoes of this.
I appreciate your time also. Appreciate the offer presented to me. They look fair, they look respectable, but I'm sure there's room for some discussion.
Well, we believe in your product, and that's why we're here. We also realize that you have a offer on the table already, and that's why we put together these options for you. I guess the best way to do this, as far as methodically, is to go over each one of the packages as deeply as you'd like, but if it's all the same to you, I guess we could start with package A. You're saying you would prefer any one of the other packages. If it's all the same to you, we could just eliminate the option right from the bat.
I think we can eliminate package A. I'm in agreement with that.
Great. So then let's move on to package B then.
Package B, it's a package I reviewed a few times. It's a package I like. As you know, I went into this not to market my product as a supplement, as a dietary supplement. I want this to be FDA approved, and package B, C, D, and E gives me that option. But I think package B on the surface is giving me what I'm looking for.
Now I see where you're coming from that as far as the $20 million upfront and the potential $15 million bonus if the FDA approves that.
Correct.
Now, I believe from previous conversations that we've had, you believe you have about a 60% chance of getting through that process successfully.
Correct.
We have done an internal research of our own, and we don't really believe it that strongly. We give it about a 10% chance of getting through. So the $20 million up front and the $10 million on top of it for our FDA portion of it would get us to our magic figure if it does not get the FDA approval. So I'm okay with package B as an option, but I would still like to see what the other three options would get us as far as whether you consider them at all.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad we're in agreement so far on our packages. Package C of the other three packages, the only other one that really interests me was
package D. That would be $17 million up front and a 7.5% royalty.
Correct.
Now, from our independent research, we've found that if the FDA does approve this and we use the patent that you already have, the best potential profit that we would be able to get from this drug is $130 million, which does not include the $10 million that we would have to spend to get through the FDA process. So that would translate to about a $15 million royalty on top of that $17 million upfront cost.
That's correct.
Now, not counting any additional fees that you may have with your attorney, I do see the potential in this. Now, what you need to see that you're referring to, if the FDA approval does not go through, that means you would only be getting $17 million, which would be less than what your previous buyer was putting on the table. Now, we wouldn't have a problem doing that since it would still be less than what our normal point would be. But I just want to make sure you're comfortable with possibly losing out on at least an additional $3 million.
Well, the way I look at my upfront fee, so at 17, it's kind of a wash. Or $1 million or $850,000. His fee was going to be between the two options of B and D. So the difference to me, I had another option to put on the table actually. I know the upfront fee for you is, for your group, it's difficult. And I know you guys don't put a lot of emphasis in the FDA side. You're saying it has a 10% chance. I'm saying 60% chance, basically.
Correct. And regardless, we would still be spending $10 million to go through that process.
Regardless. So, my belief was, maybe a $15 million deal and a 90% royalty.
Well, I'm not entirely sure we would be able to add any options to this pack. Conversations have led us with just these 5 options.
Well, I mean, between the two, if we want to go between the two, then I would opt for option B. If you're agreeable to that, I think we have...
Well, I do believe that is a viable option, but that wouldn't be my first choice. Reason being is that would be the highest willing to go, and that is pretty much assuming that everything goes according to plan.
Right.
I would actually be more willing to go and chase, if since you had settled that as a second option, as option D. At least that way, if there is a 7.5% royalty and your belief of the approval goes well, you stand to still make $31.15 million overall.
I mean, I can do that.
Well, then that's great. Then if everything else is in order, I'd like to proceed with option D, and I hope that the FDA is as confident in the product as you.
I think this is a viable deal based on the two options, so I think it will work. It will be beneficial to me and, of course, to your company.
Of course, and as long as it's mutually beneficial, why not?
All right, listen, I thank you for your time.
My pleasure.